to Death Before Booze. I'm Sam. Hi, Jen.
Jen. Hi, Sam.
Okay, we are back. We are back with another episode. I don't know why we sing so much. We're not that good at it.
I mean, I don't know. It's just a thing. I've always just done that.
We have an intro. It's not like we need another one, but it's fine. We're doing great. Okay, I know I'm kind of behind on the times for this one, but I don't know why. It just hit me in the head and I went, what the fuck? The whole thing with P. Diddy. Right? So first off,
yeah,
I saw this.
I don't know why we're talking about this.
I don't know either. It has
episode,
absolutely nothing to do with it, but it just literally hit me in the head.
It doesn't have
So first off, I saw a meme the other day that says, I'm listening to all my old favorites before they're all in jail. And they're playing like Usher in the background, which makes me laugh. Like, yeah, you know. Not that he's problematic in his own way. But anyway, so that's the first part of my oh shit moment. And the second is his lawyer said because he had 1,000 bottles of baby oil or lube or whatever it was that he got them at Costco. Yeah. And how fucking quick was Costco to be like, hold up, like, pump the fucking brakes.
They're like, first of all, we do not sell
First of all, we don't carry baby oil and lube in bulk at our stores. So that's number one.
Even if we did, it wouldn't be 100
1,000. He had 1,000 bottles. And then Ken's trying to explain this to me. And I'm like, I couldn't get past the 1,000 bottles. And I'm like, so is it 1,000 of each? 1,000 cumulative? Are they open? Are any of them open? Are they closed? Is he using them for decor? Do they smell? Does he have like the warming oil? Like, are they different brands? Or are they all Johnson & Johnson? Like,
see, I didn't go there. I just went, okay.
Like, Ken's like, are you listening? He was doing all these horrible things. I was like, yeah, no, I get it. But the lube, like, can we go back to that really quick?
Was it aloe? Was it cocoa butter? Was it non-scented? Were some scented?
Are we sure it was lube and not just baby oil? Because I'm seeing baby oil. What if he just had 1,000 things of baby oil? Doesn't he have like 27 kids? I mean, it kind of would make sense. I still don't fully understand what's going on with that case because I cannot get past the lube. I can't. Like, I'm just like 1,000 bottles.
Yeah, it's
and Costco's like, no, Nanette.
Yeah. Really fast.
That got released, and it had to be like that intern was like, "Oh hell no!"
Yeah, that they were like, "Put something up." They're not throwing that on us. I
love how it was Costco. BJ's is over here like, "It ain't me. It ain't me. It ain't BJ's." Fuck. Could you imagine though if they said BJ's and it's all like lube?
I mean, yeah, it would just be comical because it's like, oh,
exactly. Okay, so like Jen said, that had nothing to do with our topic. Not even a little bit.
It didn't.
Our topic this week is
Witch. Da, 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 da. And we're not talking about Salem.
No, I almost talked about Salem.
So
I had initially planned, and I don't usually say this stuff, I initially planned to cover the Joshua Ward house for this one. But then, I did the Captain White the other day, and I was like, if we do Salem, it's a little too on the head. Like, you know what I noticed in our Satanic episode we did, like last time? Neither one of us actually covered anything Satanic Panic.
No,
but that would have been a good spot to do the like Manson murders and shit. Like, think about how we could have like really played that Satanic.
I feel like we're like
that. That's what I did. I was like, ooh, that's a little too on the nose. I'm gonna back it up. Let me back it up a little bit. I will do adjacent.
I think that's kind of what I did too. I was like, let me do like something that's different instead of, because eventually we'll hit Charles Manson. Eventually we'll hit the heavy duty serial killers. But you know what? Like for now, let's dip our toe in, and before we jump into we jump into the fires of hell.
I'm waiting for you to do like what's his name, Richard Ramirez. Like, oh my god, I'm gonna die.
God. Yeah, that's
him.
Coming. It's coming.
Baumeister. Who's that other guy, the photographer guy from Germany who also stayed at the Cecil? Oh my god, I
remember that guy because you're like, we need.
I know.
And I was like, yeah.
Like, no. See, it's really cute for me to be like, oh my god, we need to cover this because I'm not the one researching it like at all. It's like
She'll usually be like Sam's usually like, "Oh, it's a crazy serial killer."
Oh,
And
yeah, it's
Jenn's
all
got
you, kid.
this. And, like,
It's all
listen,
you, kid. The
I
Black
got it.
Dahlia.
I just am always
We should
like,
do that as, like, a full episode. You can do the murdery part, and I'll do, like, the haunting and all the places that she went that day and how they're all, like, touched.
that would be cool.
That would be cool.
Like a
Yeah, like the
Amityville that we're
Amityville we're
doing
gonna do
later.
in December.
Yeah.
Oh, or November? I don't fucking remember, but whenever we're doing that one. Oh my
November.
goodness, that would be really
I'm
cool. I
excited
just
for
the mic
that
with my
one.
boob, my bad. But shit. Okay, so we're covering Witch. We are obviously not doing very well at staying on topic today. Someone forgot their meds. Me. So I'm going first. Are you ready
Fine.
for a story?
I'm
Okay.
ready.
So we're going to Jamaica, man. Not the bobsled team. So Johnny Cash wrote a song about this one. Yes, Johnny Cash, I'm Johnny Cash, like
Ooh.
him. Wrote a song about Annie the White Witch called "The Ballad of Annie Palmer," and that's who we're covering today. Annie Palmer. She is known as the White Witch of Rose Hall, and the song goes, on the island of Jamaica, quite a long, long time ago, at Rose Hall Plantation, where the ocean breezes blow, lived a girl named Annie Palmer, the mistress of the place, and the slaves all lived in fear to see a frown on Annie's face. Oh, she's freaky. Okay.
It's one of those.
So Rose Hall was built in the 1770s in Montego Bay, Jamaica. You can still go there. You can tour it. I think you can even stay in parts of the plantation. Like, it kind of made it into a hotel-y type thing. So it was built by John Palmer and his wife, but later the property moved to the grandnephew, John Rose Palmer. Why would you name your nephew's middle name Rose? It's like Adolf Elizabeth Hitler from fucking... Anyway.
Jesus! I mean,
is that really his middle name, or did the producers just fuck around?
With Rose or Elizabeth?
Have you ever watched
I hope
the
not.
producers? There's like a whole song, and they're like, Adolf's middle name was Elizabeth, and then somebody else signed something, and they're like, Elizabeth, and it's a dude, and they're like, what? Okay, so, all right. So John Rose Palmer, he inherits the house. It has a beautiful mansion and is surrounded by 1,250 acres of property. So that was all the plantation and gardens and all this good stuff.
Okay.
So Annie, our girlfriend Annie, she was born in either Haiti or England to a middle-class family. I also saw that she was born in England and raised in Haiti. When she was young, her parents died of yellow fever, and then she was adopted and raised by her nanny, who was a voodoo princess who knew a shit ton about witchcraft and voodoo and taught it all to Annie.
Oh.
So...
That's good.
So, when Annie grew up and was the ripe old age of 17, she was shipped to Jamaica to get married. This is where she used her beauty and wiles and black magic to snag herself a man, also known as John Rose Palmer. So again, he owned Rose Hall, and Annie's moving up in the world. She's a happy little human. Like, look at my house. Look at my husband. Look at my slaves. I'm so happy. She's a bitch, by the way, in case we haven't picked up on my tone. She's a bitch.
Yeah, no, I mean.
So it said that Annie was exceedingly beautiful, despite her short stature of 4'11". She loved the color red, and although she never bore a child, apparently she had a portrait commissioned that surrounded her with children as a way to convince people that she could have been a really good mother. Like, I know I didn't have any kids, but I definitely would have been a great mom. Like John and Kate +8 minus the IVF.
Okay. I don't think that that's the best way to show that, but okay.
So when you look at this picture too, like I have it on the blog, like go look at it. There's the painting still stays there. And you know what the best part is like nobody can confirm that this is really Annie Palmer. Like nobody's like, yes, this was commissioned. It's like here's this painting, we found it. We're gonna go with this was Annie. Like she's wearing red, so obviously
that's hilarious.
But all the kids in the painting are very stiff. Like she looks like she has like she was a human, and everybody else is super stiff, like they were just painted in. And the rumor is that the artist just put dolls around Annie when he did it. And
he was
yeah,
painting.
and
Okay.
apparently none of the dolls actually are looking at the person painting. Like they're just staring off into nothing. But
They're just
Annie in the
oh.
picture, or the supposed Annie in the picture, her eyes follow you through the room, like on the Haunted Mansion. Like it watches you as it
Yeah,
walks through as you walk through the room. I'm like, no, I'm good.
she's like, "Look at me. I'm
Look
a
at
great
all my
mother.
kids that I
Look at
didn't
me. Look at
have.
me."
Yay. My vagina is still totally intact. Woohoo.
Yay.
So anyway, her first marriage to Mr. John didn't last very long. She poisoned him. She
Oh,
preferred the romantic company of her slaves more than hanging out with John Palmer. Oops.
okay. I mean,
Oops.
like,
Yeah.
okay. But why call I have you know what? Just keep moving. I have questions, but
Cool, cool,
I'll
cool.
figure it out.
So after her husband's death, nothing stopped her from moving on to more of her slaves. And she had she had an MO. So she would take up a slave lover. When she got tired of him, she would either kill him or have him killed. Then force the other slaves to bury him by the beach, like her lover, the dead one. And then out of the 3 to 6 slaves who helped get rid of the body, she'd pick one of them as her next lover. And then
Okay.
she would get tired of them, she'd kill them, she'd pick 3 to 6 more people. And it was just a vicious cycle. Like this is what she did. She just kept going.
If I was one of them, I'd be like,
I
"Listen,
have
I
syphilis.
don't want to get
I
picked."
have chlamydia.
I
Look at all the fucking bug
Could you
bites.
imagine like
What are those called?
getting
Fucking
picked
crabs.
and being
Yeah, I
like,
got
"Shit."
crabs.
They're
I got
like, "Yeah,
so you
bro,
can see
you're
them. Look, they're
next."
down there. Don't come by me. I got crabs. Like voodoo don't kill crabs. That's all I have to say.
That's just so weird. Was it like a power thing where she just wanted to be with a slave and that was like a power thing for her? Or was it like she actually because again, if interracial things were very, very taboo at that
Mm-hmm.
time. So was this real? Like she actually wanted to have a relationship and then or was it just I have slaves. I'm just gonna make them do whatever I want and then
I
kill
mean, it
them.
could be that. It could just be she was a horny bitch. It could just be. I mean,
I
I
mean,
I, I
that's true
haven't
too.
talked to her recently, so I don't really know what her
I mean, that's true. I just
what. Yeah,
what her thing is. I
some
don't
people are
know.
just like,
I mean, everybody's into
yeah.
something different, and
I
that's
mean, if
fine.
Morris Chestnut was around
I
the
just
corner, Ken, I
worry.
love you, but that is a beautiful chocolate man, and I might have to go say hi for a couple of minutes. But I don't think I'd
I
poison
mean, and
Ken
you
just
know
so
what?
he could go.
No, but also I don't think that when I was done with somebody, I'd be like, you know what? Just just kill him.
They
It's
don't even
fine.
tell you
You
how
know,
long her
but
appetite
again,
would be for. So it's like, like how some people have like a flavor of the week or the month, or they're like
right,
what was the like, did they like fart in their sleep and you were like, I'm done now?
right. Or did they kind of like run out of little z's? I don't know.
I don't really know.
I don't know, you know? She's like, "You don't have enough C's
Yeah,
for
I
me."
mean,
I
she was
don't know.
a horrible, horrible human who just enjoyed torturing people, which is what we're getting to next. So maybe it could have just been like, she enjoyed that she had the upper hand. Well,
Having
not only, I
power.
mean, yes, they're
Yeah.
slaves, but they're also men. So like, she's kind of, and she doesn't really have a
Yeah,
great
she's
track
got the
record
little
with men either. So
I mean, she poisoned her husband,
her
so, like,
first husband, she poisoned her first
Jesus
husband.
Christ.
So unfortunately, those enslaved at Rose Plantation, um, they knew that the mistress of the house was malevolent, sadistic, opportunistic,
Mhm.
um, and
I would
tortured her
say.
slaves for fun. So Annie enjoyed standing from the top balcony to watch her slaves being tortured, beaten, and sometimes even executed in the courtyard. After someone had been tortured to Annie's satisfaction, like, if they weren't killed or executed, the slave would then be taken
Right.
down a set of steps to the dungeon below, where they would be chained up without food, medicine, or water and just left to die. And now these are just like the
They have a
slaves. These
dungeon?
aren't her
They
lover
have a
slaves.
dungeon?
These are the like other, yeah,
No, they're just
like,
regular these are people she didn't
yeah.
choose.
Well, I
Oh,
mean, she chose them for
bleh.
something, but I mean, it all ends the same way on this plantation. If you're there, you're just not going to have a good time.
Christ.
So as the story goes, she murdered not only John, her first husband, but 2 subsequent husbands.
Mhm.
So her second husband, and I think she went after the second husband, the story is that because she was starting to go into debt and needed a little financial infusion. But her second husband wasn't exactly keen with her fraternizing with the help. He took umbrage. He was very upset. He's like, "Why don't you want my dick?" Like, he was pissed.
Yeah, and you know what? That's fair. You married
Yeah,
me.
dude, I gave you my money.
Right?
Like, you could at least fucking hang out with me a little bit. Like, come on. So,
Yeah. Pretend you love me.
pretend. It's not that hard.
Just pretend that you love me.
Breakfast with me, damn it. Anyway, so Annie had her slave lover of the time take care of husband number 2. She ordered that he be stabbed to death in his bedroom. So it's husband number 2, and there she is living her best life. And now she's single and ready to mingle again. She had a ton of time on her hands because she had no whiny bitch husband telling her, "You don't spend enough time with me." So
did anybody notice oh, he's not there anymore?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, they noticed. They
Okay.
noticed.
Okay. They were just afraid of her.
Yeah. So it's said at this point, with all this time on her hands, she decided to build herself the world's first orgy room. It came equipped with torture equipment, sharp instruments, bear traps, and a round bed.
I mean, good for her.
We all need a hobby.
Good for her.
We
Living her
all
best
self-care. So she finished her orgy room. She had fun, and then she went, "Fuck, I spent all this money. I need another husband." This one lasted like a blink of an eye. I mean, if it was like a month, it was a lot. So one night while she's sleeping, she strangled him and poured boiling hot oil into his ears because strangling him wasn't enough.
No.
I mean, she's just a doll.
God damn.
I can't wait to have her over for parties. We're going to get manis and petties later. So Annie's reign of terror would only come to an end when she took up a lover in one of her slaves, Taku. Unbeknownst to Annie, Taku was also a powerful voodoo magician. So now the fall of Annie has a few different versions, but they all have to do with Taku. So in one variant, Annie cursed Taku's intended son-in-law. Another one, she cursed Taku's own child. But any of them, like any of these stories, any of these flavors of, Annie's end, it doesn't end well for her. Like she gets hers. So my favorite version, and the one that I could find the most information on, and I think it's everybody's favorite because that's why we have the most embellished version of this, is Taku had actually been freed by Annie. Like Annie really took a liking to this one.
Interesting.
And they were lovers for a hot second. Like it wasn't like her normal, couple weeks and then I get bored. Like they were pretty close, and he was very loyal to her. Like he would tell people, "Don't talk about her. Like that's my woman." Like, so they had a thing going. This was months long at this point. And then she crossed a line. So never one to limit herself, Annie set her eyes on the plantation's accountant, Robert Rutherford. And I think this was more of a cash infusion than I really like him.
Right.
But Rutherford only had eyes for a pretty slave girl named Millicent. So Annie would not allow Millicent to be freed for Rutherford to take her, and wouldn't sell her either. And now Millicent is Taku's grand niece. So now there's a bloodline there.
Oh.
So to get back at Rutherford and being jealous of Millicent, Annie murders Millicent out of jealousy.
No. Well,
Taku really didn't like that part. So to avenge Millicent, He made love to Annie one final time and strangled her in her bed and then put a curse on her soul. I mean, I get it. I get it. I totally understand.
Fair.
Like, I mean,
Fair.
So Annie Palmer is supposedly buried in a tomb on the grounds that you can visit. It's part of the tour. Local lore says that her tomb was meant to be sealed with a voodoo ritual that would keep her spirit imprisoned in the tomb forever. Unfortunately, someone forgot to finish the incantation.
Oh, come on, guys.
So how the ritual is supposed to be is your tomb is there and they do something on all four sides of the tomb. So the two ends and the two sides. And they did three sides. And then they were kind of afraid that while they were doing the ritual, her spirit may have escaped through the one end. So they're like, maybe we should wait a day and see if she comes back. And then they just never finished it. So they drew a cross on the one end and they're like, it'll be fine. It'll be okay. It's fine. We did 3 out of 4. I mean, come on. How bad can it be?
Oh my God.
So now Annie Palmer's ghost roams free at Rose Hall. Soon after she died, she began to make ghostly appearances around the plantation, driving servants, guests, and residents mad with terror. People claim to have witnessed Palmer's ghost riding her horse around the plantation. She's also seen on her favorite balcony, waiting for one of her slaves to be tortured. Ghost hunter Hans Holzer, who's very famous and I have to cover one day, claims once Palmer's ghost took over the body of trance medium Eileen Garrett. And before long, after this whole seance where Annie Palmer took over, the house was abandoned, fell into ruin, and no one but Annie could ever be the mistress of Rose Hall again. So in the early 1900s, another family found Rose Hall and like, we're going to buy this. We're going to make it beautiful again. We're going to live here. It's going to be awesome. Within weeks, they were driven from the place when their maid was thrown from the second-story balcony by invisible hands. The very same balcony that Annie used when she would stand and watch the debauchery she inflicted on her slaves.
She's like, fuck,
this
no,
is
you're
my
not
balcony,
here.
bitch. Back up. Shit. So now I love this story. I think it's a fantastic story. Unfortunately, that's probably all that this is a ghost story created to, make some money for Rose Hall and do their whole thing. Because recent research has cast a lot of doubt on the Annie Palmer legend. So skeptic Benjamin Radford discovered that much of this story came from a novel called The White Witch of Rose Hall, written in 1929 by Herbert G. de Lisser. I feel if I try and put a French accent on anything, it sounds like I know what I'm doing. So, I'm doing good.
Great.
So travel writer Polly Thomas suggests that Annie Palmer legend is partially based on the life of Rosa Palmer. So Rosa was the first mistress of Rose Hall. Wasn't Rosa the name of the grandmother in my last story? Holy shit, what a day. So there's a lot of Rosas. But Rosa had 4 husbands, but she was an absolute sweetheart and was never suspected in any of her husband's deaths. It can also be mixed with the story of the real Annie Palmer, who did marry John Rose Palmer in 1820. However, John Rose Palmer died in debt 7 years later. Annie had no legal right to the plantation and was forced to leave, and she died relatively unknown in 1846. So now, even though the Annie Palmer story has been completely debunked, in my humble opinion, there are many ghost stories. Yeah. I'm sorry. Even though, the stories aren't true, there still seem to be ghosts and hauntings at the plantation. But there's no real way to, corroborate or figure out what happened because this story has taken over for so many, decades. So, quite a few of our favorite ghost shows have been here, including Scariest Places on Earth, The Ghost Bros, who, have you ever watched their show? I love their show. these 3 black guys. It's
I
on the
think I saw
Travel
it one
Channel.
time.
And, like, you know, they get very serious, but they're fun. So it's like picture Ghost Adventures from, like, the first 2 or 3 seasons where, like, they kind of fuck around, but they still get down to
Right.
bit. It's like that. It's like that cool vibe. Ghost Hunters International, The Dead Files has been there, and Amy Allen claimed to
Hmm.
encounter at least 2 female ghosts that she identified as Rosa and Annie Palmer. And of course, our favorite Zach Bagel Bites.
Zach Bagans.
I'm Zach Bagels. Anyway, not much happens in this episode. So they go to Jamaica. They hear the story of Rose Hall. Zach clings to the idea that Annie's sleeping around and killing her husbands, and, you know, he's gonna have her fall in love with him, and she's gonna try and kill him in the night. And
Of
yeah, you know,
course.
she like lays in her
Jesus
bed and is
Christ.
like, "I'm here for you, Annie," like that type of shit.
Oh
But they
my
also
God.
find out
Good.
that Johnny Cash owned the cinnamon plantation nearby. Like, that's the name of it, Cinnamon Plantation.
Oh.
So while they're over there, they turn this episode into a 2-part lockdown and do half the night at the Palmer at Rose Hall and then half the night at Johnny
And half.
Cash's final like
Oh.
house. I don't know if he died on that house, but it was definitely in his possession when he passed. So like his slippers are still in
Right.
the same place. There's like this big alligator on the wall that
Oh,
like
wow.
Johnny Cash shot and like had. Oh my God, it's really
Interesting.
cool. Like that part of it's
Wow.
awesome. So Ghost Adventures crew loses a soccer game to the hotel staff, and there's the lockdown. They do hear a few noises. I think they get 1 or 2 EVPs, but they're not like anything definitive. The most
Groundbreaking.
nerve-wracking part of this whole episode happens to Aaron. So he's out by the tomb, what is supposedly Annie Palmer's tomb. But Annie Palmer's tomb is outside. It is surrounded by trees and bushes and like nature. And we all know how I feel about nature. But so he starts hearing things in the woods while he's outside. And he's like, Annie's around me. She's coming to get me. It feels so weird. And in my head, I'm going, dude, there's like a fucking bunny rabbit like jumping around your feet and you just don't see it. Like, let's pump these brakes.
Yeah.
But you know, go check out the episode. I think it's, hold on, I wrote it down. Season 5, episode 9. It's called Rose Hall. There is a lot of really cool shit about Johnny Cash, and the plantation itself is gorgeous. So there's lots and lots of pictures. There are pictures on the drive. One's of a shadow figure running through Annie's bedroom, and it, in my opinion, does have the features of like a face going across your camera. There's a big white, like misty thing that definitely could be CGI, honestly, like if you really look at it. But if it is a cool like it's a cool picture, so maybe it's not. I don't fucking know.
Yeah,
I couldn't really
cool,
find a description of it. It was just something I found online. It was like, I like this. But go look at it. It's super cute, super fun. And that is the legend of Annie Palmer, the White Witch of Rose Hall in Jamaica.
I like that. I like, there's always, whenever there's a plantation, there's always lore behind it. And I love that. I love that. Oh my gosh.
We went to Jamaica, man.
Yeah, now we're going to Florida. So we know how that goes. Florida, man. Like, it's a hard writer. Okay. And this is a typical type of Florida man, I feel.
Oh boy.
So I tried to, like I said, I tried to stay away from the Salem witches and all the stuff that Sam and I are
face.
Like.
I'm gonna say anything Salem or Titanic. Yes. I can't stop myself.
So Donald Wayne Hartung lived in Pensacola, Florida. He was 63. He was the son of Vansel Smith, and he had 2 half-brothers, John and Richard. So no dad in the picture. I couldn't get a lot of background information. But I feel like this story, if there was background information, it would make fucking sense. So like,
we're just going to draw a line and start from here, and
we're just going to say, here are players. Okay. I mean, Donald now, I believe now he's 63. He wasn't at the time. So the case begins because the police were called because Richard Smith, his half-brother, was an IT specialist at the Department of Homeland Security, and he just didn't show up to work for a few days in a row. No call, no show.
This is relatively
So,
recent?
this is
Okay,
2015.
okay,
Yeah.
okay. When I hear IT and
Yeah.
Homeland Security, I'm like, well, George Washington's not getting involved, so
Right. Yeah, so a couple days he went without work. His coworkers were like, we're a little worried about that. He doesn't normally do that." Okay. So on July 31st, 2015, the bodies of 3 people were found inside the home. So Von Sille, or Von
you're
Seal,
doing great.
John, and Richard. They were found 3 days after they were killed, so probably then it had been maybe a few days longer that he had stopped showing up to work.
I bet it smelled really bad
Okay.
there.
I mean, yeah, all 3 victims had their
Ugh.
throats slit and had been badly beaten with a claw
A
hammer.
claw hammer? A
On
claw like, the
Yeah.
claw
Now,
side hammers
I don't know if that means the back that I don't know if that means the back because there is such a thing as a claw hammer, if it's the back or it's anyway, we're just gonna use our imaginations for
No! I
that one,
don't like
I
that anymore.
suppose.
Get out of my head.
So so Richard was also shot in the head, which deputies believed because he was a little bit bigger, he was like a larger man, they shot him to immobilize him while the rest
We
of the
jumped
murders were
right
done.
in.
Yeah, but I mean, like I said, there's no
Oh.
background, but I like but once you go into, like, what this is, you're like, I don't think the background would have helped
Ugh.
anybody. Deputies also believed, and there's a couple reasons why, but they believed immediately that these killings were ritualistic because they were already kind of looking at a person of interest who was linked to religious practices, had been kind of suspicious and committed some crimes. So they were thinking, okay, this might be ritualistic. Also, later on, they were kind of more, it was more heightened that it could have been a ritualistic witch type of thing because the crime appeared to have been part of a blue moon witchcraft practice. So the blue moon is the idea of its clarity, kind of becoming more mindful, the idea of it doesn't happen like blue moons don't happen very
Well, the blue
often, like
moon saw
once
me
in a blue
standing
moon.
alone
So
without a
when
dream in my heart, without a love of my own. Whoa, whoa,
yeah.
whoa.
So usually a blue moon comes around and when people like get into this and they do rituals, they kind of do like a light a candle type of thing. In fact, I have on the website a possible thing to do during a blue moon, which is like, bring out a scented candle, go out with a positive mindset, talk about
I
like
was gonna
so
say, the whole
this
claw
is
hammer
kind
never
of
came
like
up on my Witch Talk TikTok
yeah,
page.
I
I'm just
kind of
saying.
I kind of think that thinking that this is a blue moon ritual, like a witchcraft ritual is very
I feel like we're
I don't know.
stretching.
I don't know much about I don't really know about witchy changes, but I'm pretty sure that being like, "Oh, there's a blue moon tonight. I'm gonna get my claw hammer out," is not the first
Uh,
thing
I
that
mean,
people think of.
salt,
So,
moon water,
yeah, there's
lavender,
a whole bunch of
sage,
stuff you can
claw
do. Like,
hammer.
there's a
No.
whole bunch of different cutesy little witch things that are like, "Hey, here's some witchy things you can do on a blue moon." None of them involve murder. Just saying.
I
Okay, I looked it
looked
up.
it up.
It doesn't.
I googled it.
I just I wanted to see because you know how like sometimes it's like, "Oh, this like the red moon whatever," and you're like, "Oh, okay, that was based on an old ritual of like, murdering people." No, this one's very much like
I'm sorry. My Pinterest.
accepting
I don't really
change.
see any practicing witches going on Pinterest being like, make your altar for the blue moon. Make sure you stop at Home Depot before this
Make
happens.
sure
Like
make sure you get some your claw hammer. You definitely are gonna
a
need
nail
some
gun
some
would
really
be
sharp
great
knife
just
too.
in case
Like,
if you don't feel like exerting as much, you can get a nice
yeah,
I
exactly.
can't.
It's not really in the ritual. So this makes me go, okay, not only are the cops not really sure of what a ritualistic killing is, but they're also not really sure of what a witch like ritual is because it has nothing to do with murder ever. But they always go with it's got to be some kind of witch
I'm
thing. It's got
sorry.
to be
No
witchcraft.
witch that I know is doing her cottage core and worrying about construction at the same time. That's just not going to happen.
Yeah,
It's
thank you.
just not.
Thank you. So so they immediately went with this has got to be witchcraft because it happened on this particular day. I don't know which of the cops went, "Oh my god, there was a blue
Do you
moon
want to know
like
who
3
it
nights
was?
ago."
The
Like,
one who says that they have a problem teenager who got a little too into Wicca after her trip to Salem
yeah.
and said, "Daddy, the blue moon is tonight." And then the next day he went, "Up, murder,
Yep.
definitely the blue moon. Definitely did it. Threw up,
Yeah.
threw him off."
Yeah. It just it was so weird that they connected it that way, but it kind of made sense, I guess, that there was already somebody kind of doing weird things that they believed were weird. I don't even know if they were weird. I don't know anything about that guy, but that's the guy that
Okay.
they thought about. So now Donald's family, okay, his mother and his two half brothers are dead. So they go to him and they're like, "Hey, want to bring you the news." So he did allow them to come into the residence. They quickly thought something was off with Donald
Did he have a claw hammer?
because apparently, now allegedly, he was found wearing the same clothes that had blood all over them
Oh, that would, yeah, that seems like a good tip.
from,
Yeah.
and he was really just not emotional about it. They were like, "Hey, so, I just want to let you know." And he's just like,
Cool. Cool
"Okay,
story. Do I have to
all
like
right.
clean something? Like, ew, wait, it was like 3 days and he's
Do we
still
have to?"
wearing the blood. Ugh.
Isn't that like so the investigators then went, all right, let's search a little bit more and see what's going on in here. It took a weird turn because he had a worship room set up in his home with a Ouija board and some other items.
Was there a
It's so I
head
guess like a pagan
or a
worship room. I don't
wait, was there did he make some sort of statue out of whomever he killed with their own chewing gum like Helga Pataki did and Hey Arnold?
like I was just thinking no, this kind of also to me a worship room. If you I don't know if it's again, I wasn't at the scene. I didn't see what was going on, but if he has a Ouija board out, it kind of maybe seems like it was just like a let me place something here to make it a, like let me
Was it a decorative
I
choice?
don't
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't
I
know. I
don't
don't
know.
know. So Donald was officially arrested. They're like, "Dude, what the fuck?"
What the fucking
Like,
fuck?
what you're wearing the clothes. You don't really give a shit. Like you don't really have an alibi. So like I don't fucking know what to tell you. So okay. So they arrested him and they charged him with 3 counts of first degree premeditated
Oh
murder with
damn.
a weapon. So during the trial, fast forward a couple months later during the trial, the prosecution actually started their case by bringing his son, so
Okay.
Donald's son, onto the stand. And they questioned him about, hey, did you, when your dad called you, did he seem kind of off, like whatever. Um, and now that he knew, or, based on all the evidence, does it surprise you? And he's like, it doesn't really surprise me. My dad was considered the black sheep of the family. He and his father had a very strained relationship. So, like, that's also why I guess the prosecution was like, does it surprise you that your dad's on trial for this? Tell us about your dad and how weird he was. And
Well, I mean, he
I
used
don't
to
know. I
dance
don't
naked in
know.
the backyard with a claw hammer around a fire. Is that
I
weird?
mean, I
I don't
don't know.
really.
I
I
just
mean, we do
assumed
live in
that I just
Florida.
assumed that was part of some blue moon thing. I don't know. I don't know.
He
I
really
don't know.
loved the blue moon
Oh
and
my
the leap
god.
year. He was like all
Yeah.
about that. That horrible movie
Yeah, I
with
mean,
Amy
just all
Adams, like
about
it was
it.
like his
So,
favorite.
oh my god. So, they called then an expert witness. They didn't name the expert
Well,
witness or anything,
he's an
but
expert.
they
You
were
should just
called
know.
during his trial. Exactly. We don't know if it's like an Amazon, I read a book on Amazon expert, if it's a, I happen to be next door, I happen to know a little bit about this blue moon
I
thing going on. I
Googled
don't
Blue
know.
Moon
I
30
don't know.
seconds before being called to the
I
stand. I
listen,
know
I Googled blue moon,
everything. I am an
but
expert.
I guess this guy was more of an expert on ritualistic type and like different religious, like he had a little bit, because they called him up there and then they asked him point blank, based on the murders, how likely is this connected? And he's like, there's literally no connection between the Wicca connection
I'm an
religion.
expert.
Like there's literally none, because the Wicca religion, and like I guess he went
Do you
into like
realize
all
they
the
could have
different,
called you or I
it's
up to the
nature,
stand and we would have said the
it's
same fucking
nature,
thing?
it's nature right, it's nature based. I guess they had to go into the background of like Wicca and talk about like how dangerous it
It's
was, and he's
not.
like, it's not, because it's nature based. So if you are going to go out and enjoy the blue moon like everyone else, because it's a something that happens not very long, you're not going to murder people. That's not part of the
I
Wicca
mean,
religion. But okay.
I mean, claw hammers grow on trees.
So
I mean, the goddess gives them to us, so obviously I need them for
I mean,
my ritualistic killings that I do only on the blue moon.
Jesus. Yeah.
This guy's obviously not an expert.
So more than likely, the motive was
Ew.
money,
How is that
because
Wicca?
evidence presented at the trial indicated the sum of the three descendants' bank accounts that was about
Oh,
$895,608.
damn.
So it's a pretty good, significant amount of
I
money in
wouldn't
there.
mind that in my bank account right now. Thank you.
Yeah, I
I'd
agree.
split it with you.
His mother, well,
Anything
I
for you.
appreciate that because
I
that'd
know.
be fun. That'd be
Yay.
nice. Yay. His mother left everything to his two brothers, John and Richard. Says the assistant state attorney talked about, because I guess they went into her will and everything like that. So it seemed as though in her will, in her last will and testament, it said, quote, I intentionally make no provision herein to the benefit of my son, Donald Hartung Jr., not for lack of love or affection, but because he has sufficient assets of his
Oh,
own.
damn.
I think Donald knew this and was not happy. So he wanted the money. So he knew he was never going to get it unless all three family members
Yeah,
were dead.
but if did the other two have wills? What if they had descendants?
See
Wouldn't it go into
that?
probate? Like this is not. None of this makes sense.
It seems as though no, it doesn't. It seems as though his half brothers didn't have
Hmm.
children, because it wasn't, again, I don't know, because there's like so little information on this, on the background of people, because they're like, "Hey, look at this shit." And you're like, "Yeah, this is a fucking trash can fire, but like how did it get here is basically
Let's
what you're
Tarantino it. Like
wondering."
bring it
But
back. We got to bring it back now.
I don't know. I'm assuming they didn't have descendants. So, and maybe they didn't have wills, because there are a lot of people who don't, and maybe knowing he wasn't in hers, well, if they die, who's the
Of
next
kin.
kin? It's
Oh,
him.
okay.
So he thought, well, I have to kill all of them then.
You obviously have to. Yeah.
Instead of just talking to mom and being like, "Hey, I know that you," like, I mean, it's an uncomfortable conversation, but like there's a reason why she left him out. She said it's not because I love him less, it's just because he has more to work with. Which, okay, I don't know. I don't know why. I don't know. Maybe she pissed him off that day when
But
she
like,
was
if he
doing the
didn't
will. I
need the
don't
money,
know.
then why kill everybody right then?
I agree. I don't I don't know. This is
This is
so
batshit bananas.
weird. So he wanted the money. He knew he wasn't going to get it. He killed everybody involved in order to get it.
Cool.
Great. Now, according to an informant, so I guess someone who is friends with him, again, unnamed, Donald planned the murder over several
So
years.
he had this plan
So
this
this
human
wasn't
knew
a
and didn't do anything about it. Aiding and abetting.
guess not.
Okay.
Guess not. He says Donald killed his family after they finished eating their dinner at their weekly get
Of course,
together.
family fun.
The informant then testified that Donald killed his brother Josh by hitting him in the head with the claw
Ugh.
hammer, whatever, and that he shot Richard because Richard was a little bit heavier, so it would have been you need to immobilize
Okay.
him. Okay. He also told the court that Donald tortured his mother before slitting her throat to get the combination of the safe. So I don't know if the informant was told after, like, Donald's like, hey, guess what I did? And the guy was like, oh, that's great. I'm just going to make a phone call real
I
quick.
hate everything.
Now, Donald also tried to say, oh no, it's not me. Here are these different. He tried to point them in three different directions. The first one, um, John was accused of exposing himself to a child at Walmart. So maybe someone came after the family for that.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Okay.
Next.
Richard was involved with a married woman. So maybe somebody came after the family for that.
Okay. I mean, that one seems a little bit more plausible, but why would they go after everybody and not
Maybe
just the one dude?
everybody.
Okay.
Also, Richard worked for Homeland Security, which is a very big timey job. So maybe he pissed somebody else off there and he did something wrong and
It was the
people go out.
Israeli assassins.
Right.
He wrote a book. They
It
were
was
very upset.
he
He
wrote a
was on a
book. They were
cruise.
upset about
They
the
threw
book
his wife overboard. She flew away like a plastic bag.
like a
Fucking
balloon.
sex doll. Whoosh.
Oh my God. So yeah, he tried. Here are three different ways, and they're like, no,
Okay,
no,
I'm going to give you a quick
fucking
tip from
no.
Auntie Sammy again, guys. If by some way, whether you are innocent or not, you get brought into the police station for a murder, do not offer up
Or
suggestions as to
here's what
what
could have
could have
happened.
happened because the further you go down that road, and I know you guys are smart enough, I'm really just preaching right now, but
It's
it makes you look bad because it makes it look like you
yeah.
thought about it. So don't just say, I don't know.
Mhm.
I want my lawyer. That's all you say. Don't offer up
Yes. You
explanations or
don't need to offer
suggestions.
explanation.
None of that. That's not your job. That's the police's
No.
job. That's not your job. This guy is obviously an idiot. So, ugh.
I mean, I don't even know if he knew about the blue moon thing or if they just fucking went with it and they were like, "Oh, the blue moon ritual that had to be," and he just kind of was like, "Oh, okay."
He was probably too busy trying to come
You
up
know,
with
like
other fucking storylines.
or if he planned it specifically for that day because it said he was already in the works of thinking
Oh
about
my
it.
god.
So like he's like, okay, the next blue moon is going to be on this day. So if I do it for that, they're going to think it's witchcraft. So I think, and I'm like, bro, what are we doing?
You need
What are
to
we
calm
doing?
down.
Yeah. So he was sentenced to three consecutive life sentences after the jury deliberated for only 1 hour.
Wow. Whole hour.
And like again, an hour seems like a pretty long
Yeah.
time. But you're right. The last episode you were like, well, what if they were going through their paperwork? What if
They
they
dropped
if they filed the
something.
paperwork wrong? What if they were like, you know what? Let's
They
order
ordered
lunch
their
first
lunch
because we
and then, somebody dropped their Coke on the paperwork. We had to fill it all out again.
yeah. I
I
mean,
get
yeah.
it.
I don't know. It so that's a
So
wackadoo.
like
But
what
again, like
was
it's
yeah,
Florida,
we
so we
always know.
always know.
But like, okay, so did he go to jail or did he get like yeah, so for how
Yeah.
long? Wait, I think I missed it. I blinked and I
3 consecutive life
holy
sentences.
shit.
So he's in
But he didn't
there.
get the death penalty. Like it wasn't capital.
No. I
Wow.
mean, he's also in his 60s, so I suppose that they were like I guess maybe that wasn't maybe he they I don't know. I guess like that wasn't part of it. I guess the death penalty, they were like, "Nah, just keep him in there for 3 consecutive life sentences."
I guess in your 60s, one life sentence probably would have done it.
Yeah,
And they're
but so
consecutive, not
and I
concurrent.
figure
So, like, it's one right after the other, right? That's consecutive?
one right after the other.
Wow.
So,
Wow. Where did you find this is like a BuzzFeed thing, wasn't it? Like, craziest stories to come out
if
of
you look
Florida.
I'm telling you, I looked up I literally Googled witch murders, and the blue moon ritual killings was, like, one of the first fucking things to pop up, and I was like, "What is this
When
thing?"
I saw that on the
And it
list,
just
I swear I thought Blue Moon Brewery, right? Isn't it's like a really, really crazy
no,
haunted
it's
place,
not
and
that
I'm
ex
like, I don't
Yeah,
remember there being
no,
any witches there. Were there
no,
witches? Now I was like super, and then I was like,
nope,
wait, there's a murder? I
no.
don't understand. Wow.
No, it's a weird s it's this I'm telling you, if you can't really get a lot because I exhausted all of the articles. I bet that there's lots of YouTube videos on this, but it's just so bizarre. So, but I'm telling you, Blue Moon Murders, and it's gonna be this guy, and it's so weird. It's like, what? It doesn't make any sense, and I think that was what drew me to this, and I go, I'm gonna go off grid a
Yeah,
little bit
I really
because
like that
this
you
is
do that though,
crazy.
because you're right. Like even what we were saying before, like I'm like Richard Ramirez and this guy and the Golden State Killer. But like I like all these little like wackadoo ones that you put out there. That it's like, because who's
It's
heard
fucking
of
weird.
this? No, you cannot get on the desk.
Probably the people in Florida because it was probably like but it was like 2015, so it's even not
At
even
least it
that
wasn't
long
bath
ago.
salts guy who was eating someone's face under an overpass.
Ugh, gross.
Yeah.
Blech.
And on that note, I'm so glad you guys listened. I already told you what I learned. Don't offer up
Yay.
alternative things.
Yeah,
That
that's
like, come
the
on.
main
If
thing.
you get
The main
arrested,
thing.
guilty or not, like just I need a lawyer.
Don't
Like,
offer
come
it.
on.
Don't. Also, I learned a couple of things about the blue moon and some rituals that you could perform. Not these, not killing somebody, but there are really great things. There's great like different,
Rituals
different
that don't
flowers you
involve a
can
claw
use
hammer.
and different waters you can use. There's a whole bunch. None of them
I have
involve
a whole
murder.
thing of
So
full moon
there it
water,
is.
like moon water, and I have possum bones, so we can have a really fun ritual one night at our house.
I mean, as long it doesn't
No,
involve
I mean
killing
the
anybody.
possum was
So
dead. It was dead for a while, like a long time. Like I waited for it to like rot away so I could get its bones off the side of the road from where where I walk my dog. But yeah, so they were naturally sourced and sustainable. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
yeah,
Anyway, make sure you're following us on all of our social media, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Like, review, subscribe, hit that bell. I really hate saying that. Um, if you are all caught up and want to hear more of our lovely voices and more stuff, make sure you join our Patreon. You can get there through our website at www.deathbeforebooze.com. You can also find our merch over there. Just go there and click merch. Do I have everything? I think that's it. There might be more,
yeah.
but
And we're doing some really cool
oh,
stuff on Patreon this month.
oh,
So like,
our 1 year's coming up. So if you want to send in a listener
yeah,
thing or ask us a question or give us a review that I can use on social media or do something fun like that, email us or DM us on our social medias. And that's it. I really did
yeah,
cover everything
and
now.
that's
I
it.
love you.
Yeah, love you guys. Stay spooky.
Bye.
Goodbye.